Hello and welcome to Through the Bible. Today is episode 25, Exodus 17 through 20. So in Exodus 17, the Israelites have come to Rephidim, and there's once again no water for them to drink. In this case, not even poison water, there's just no water. And guess what? They're complaining and grumbling again. And they begin the same refrain that's been programmed into their mind. Why did you take us from Egypt? Why did you bring us out here in the desert to die? Of course, Moses is frustrated and he goes to God. And God tells him to go and to hit the rock. Now we're going to see a similar story play out later, so it's important to remember here in Exodus 17 that in this case, God told Moses to hit the rock. So he hits the rock and the water comes and the people are able to drink, and he names the place by a name that represents their complaint. Now, we've talked before about the idea of memorial markers, things that God has done, the testimonies that God has done. In this case, they're actually naming a place after the sin of the people or the complaints and the grumblings of the people. We see that Aaron and Hur hold up Moses' hands when the Amalekites' battle ensues, and whenever his hands are up, they're winning the battle, the Israelites are, and when his hands are down, they're losing the battle, so Aaron and Hur hold up his hands to help him with the battle, and this certainly represents the need for us to support and to uphold our leaders' hands, to help them in the representation of God that they're doing. Notice that Moses wasn't actually doing anything, again, physically. This is a spiritual representation. This is something that is done in a prophetic sense that God moves upon, a symbolic act that God moves upon in the heavenlies, in the spiritual realm, and makes it happen. So holding his hands up did nothing scientifically, but it did spiritually. In Exodus 18, we see that Moses is finally reunited with his wife and his children and his father-in-law. And we see that Jethro watches, that's his father-in-law, begins to watch as Moses begins to judge the people from morning until evening. He is setting in judgment over all of their disputes, all of their questions, anything that's going on, the conflicts that are happening. And Jethro tells him, hey, this is not good. You need a better system than this. And so he begins to put together this idea of distributing leadership and distributing the load of leadership, which is something that we need to learn from as well. And he said, this will be better for everyone. You won't wear yourself out. You won't wear the people out. Everybody will be doing what they need to do. The gifts will be in operation. So he does set leaders over thousands, hundreds, fifties, and tens, and things become better in leadership. Exodus 19, we see Moses goes to Mount Sinai, or the mountain of the Lord as it's called. Also, we believe that Mount Horeb is the same place. So when we see that later with Elijah, we'll know that that's the same mountain where all of this took place. And the people are warned to keep their distance because if they come near the mountain, then there is a death penalty associated with that. In Exodus 20, we see the 10 Commandments. The name of the Lord is one of the interesting commandments. We don't have time to go into all of them today, but the name of the Lord is not just using God's name in a curse or something like that, as many people have put. Now, we shouldn't do that, but more importantly, it's under the understanding of the scholars, the rabbis, is that it's the idea of representing God or misrepresenting God. So when they speak for God, and it's not something that God supports, it's not something God does, we're seeing that a lot in the church today, we're seeing that a lot in the religious community, where people ignore the Bible, they ignore the foundations, they ignore the scriptures that God has placed out there, and they begin to say that, well, God would support this, or God would support that, even though the Bible is very clear that God does not support those things. So we must be very careful lest we use the Lord's name in vain. We represent His name, saying that He would support something that He does not, and this is a violation of one of the big 10, if you will. So we also see that other ordinances are giving that it teaches honor and respect of God, or holiness unto the Lord, and also begins to discuss the respect for others, which we're going to see play out a little bit more in detail as we hit into further scriptures. So that's it for the day, and we hope that you have a blessed one and that you are enjoying God's Word this year. Talk to you next time.